Hey there, this is Laura Williams, and I want to welcome you to the Encountering You podcast. Thank you all so much for being with me today. I'm going to be honest with y'all, lately, I am feeling pretty exhausted. I entered 2026 with the energy and enthusiasm and hope, and it's February, and I don't know where any of that went. I know many other people that feel like this too, and I'm guessing a lot of you are nodding your heads as you are listening. Things feel like they're falling apart, and staying regulated just feels impossible. Many days, I feel like I want to just phone it in. I was talking with a client yesterday about imposter syndrome, which is going to be an episode at some point. But basically, what we named is that most of us struggle with this. Wanting to show up put together. That's actually our imposter. Many of you listen to podcasts, and there may be good information, but there's no relatability. As I'm coming to you today, I'm stressed about finances, my marriage, my kids, the world, my friendships, my clients, and my city. My list of things I don't have figured out is longer than the things I'm sure of. I used to think that this disqualified me as a helper. But what I realized day in and day out is that my humanity is actually what helps others feel like you are not alone. And so today, I want you to know that you're not alone. Whatever reason you clicked on this podcast today, know that there are many others, including myself, doing the same thing for a similar reason. I want everyone listening to take a collective sigh, and let's get started. So part of why I'm telling you all of this, because I know you'd love to know why in the world I'm talking about it, is because one of our best tools in dealing with all the stressors of life is actually our nervous system. The term regulation is thrown around on Instagram and TikTok, and many of us don't really understand what that means. I know that when I started doing nervous system work, it took me a minute to truly wrap my mind around some of these concepts and to start employing them in my daily. In thinking about what I was going to talk about today, I thought, well, I've already talked about this in the past, and I don't want people to be bored, but I know that I can read the same book over and over again at different points in my life, and different things pop out. So as I'm coming to you today, maybe something different will pop out at you today. So let's start with the confusion around regulation. Many times, being regulated is confused with being calm. The ironic thing is many people, including myself, can be super calm and chill on the outside and be totally messy on the inside. I always laugh at my clients that come in and they try to fool me, right? I'll say, "What's going on?" And they'll say, "Oh, nothing. I'm actually really good today." And then I politely say, "I think that's a lie." And we share a good laugh. Being calm is not regulation. I know for me, I can be absolutely raging on the inside and smiling big on the outside. Regulation is also not being positive. If you are existing in a dumpster fire and you're using the words, "well, at least," this isn't regulation. Having hope and being positive are two completely different things. Being hopeful actually acknowledges that things aren't really good. Why else would we need hope? Toxic positivity actually pushes the heart aside. Regulation is not having no emotional reactions. Sadness, hurt, loneliness, anger, fear, and healthy shame. These are all feelings that we can experience while being regulated. When we're dysregulated, these feelings turn into apathy, resentment, rage, anxiety, depression, and even toxic shame. Another thing regulation isn't, is it's not self-control. Many people can exhibit self-control and not be regulated. This is where the term dry drunk comes from. I may not be drinking or using, but I'm not sober. Sobriety is a form of regulation. I could be using self-control and not using porn, but I'm still objectifying and lusting. And finally, regulation does not mean that I am healed or more advanced than someone else. I would love to believe that being regulated meant that I don't have more stuff to work on, but it actually doesn't. I also wanted to believe that regulation meant that I would never feel discomfort. I was driving to work just the other day and I thought, I get why numbing out feels like the best option sometimes. This discomfort of a functioning nervous system is actually really hard. So then, what do we know to be true about regulation? We can be regulated and be angry. We can be regulated and feel sadness and grief. We can be regulated and feel stressed and activated. Regulation is about the capacity to tolerate these things before we dissociate or blow our top. And many of us didn't get out of childhood with capacity. We all have nervous systems, but our capacity has shrunk to the point where everything dysregulates us. So today, we are going to talk about the biology of the nervous system and talk about some really practical ways to practice regulation. So all of us have a nervous system, right? It's our threat response system. It's the way we stay aware and feel safe. It's also the system that begins to alarm us when things start going haywire. The basics of the nervous system in general involve two responses. Our sympathetic response is what tells you, look out, there might be danger ahead. It's the response in your body if someone startles you. It evokes our fight or flight response, and it actually moves us to action. This is the part of the nervous system that most people recognize when we get dysregulated. But there are two other really common responses that don't get talked about as much, and that's freeze and fawn. And if either of those are you, I want to say this clearly. Nothing is going wrong, okay? Freeze happens when your body senses danger, but it doesn't believe that you can get away or fight back. So instead of moving, your system goes still. You might feel stuck, blank, numb, or like you can't find words. And here's the important part. Freeze actually isn't calm. It's not regulation. It's a nervous system that's so overwhelmed and doing the best it can to survive. Fawn is a little different. Fawn is what happens when your nervous system decides that staying connected is the safest option. So you people please, you smooth things over, you minimize your needs, you stay agreeable. From the outside, it can look like you're really regulated. But on the inside, there's tons of anxiety, scanning, and exhaustion. Both freeze and fawn usually develop in relationships where conflict wasn't safe or where there wasn't a real option to leave. These aren't personality traits. They're learned survival strategies. And this is where I want to slow us down for just a second. Healing isn't about getting rid of these responses. It's about noticing them with compassion. It's about helping your nervous system learn that you have more options now, more choice, more agency, more safety. Regulation doesn't mean you never react again. This would actually be dangerous and not helpful. It means you start to recognize what's happening, stay present with yourself, and then gently build the capacity to respond differently over time. In our everyday life, when we get dysregulated, most of us aren't just physically running away or literally freezing. If we saw a bear or a snake, maybe. But when I'm at work, trying to navigate relationships or going to church, our dysregulation is going to look different. What does it mean to look dysregulated in regular life? Well, you might be overreacting and snapping at other people. You might feel irritated, frustrated. You might feel distracted, looping about things. These are all really common ways a dysregulated nervous system shows up in real life. Most people think this is just being human. It's actually not. These are signs that your nervous system is at capacity and bubbling over. It's time to pay attention. We can also numb out, dissociate, and check out. The other day, Ashley and I were talking about some business stuff, and I had just come off of 4 really hard sessions. She was talking. I knew she was talking. I was hearing, but I wasn't listening. When she stopped talking, I tried as hard as I could to come up with something that would tell her I heard her. She looked at me with that knowing look, and I just laughed and said, "Yeah, I just dissociated, and I don't have any clue what you were talking about at all." My nervous system was at capacity, and I completely zoned out. Some people scroll on their phones, binge watch Netflix. Some people drink, shop, do drugs, or smoke pot. These are all ways that we numb out. We can also experience chronic anxiety and hypervigilance. Many people call this stressed out, but it's actually not. It's a dysregulated nervous system that needs a break. It means I'm beyond my capacity and my threat response is on and it won't come down. And then there's shutdown. This is what happens when a nervous system just has no more options and we have to conserve. This is very different than rest. This is, I have used all my options and now I experience exhaustion, brain fog, depression, hopelessness, and despair. All of these responses are adaptive. Nothing is wrong with your body. But what happens over time is that our ability to stay regulated shrinks. And we spend most of our time in a state of dysregulation. Most of us never learned how to regulate ourselves with another human involved. When we think about our family, right, our family of origin, this is the job of our caregivers. To keep a child's nervous system from becoming too reactive. They're supposed to help keep our window of tolerance open. Our window of tolerance is our capacity to handle what life throws at us without getting dysregulated. Barring an actual threat, right, we should be able to regulate ourselves in our daily lives. Most of us enter adulthood with a window of tolerance that is really shrunk. So in my work with clients, and our goal today is to help you widen that window so that we're not walking around as one big reactive mess. So when I think about healing the nervous system, it's really about attachment repair. It's about attuning to self when things get crazy and helping those younger parts of you through whatever it is that is causing dysregulation. When we can learn how to reparent those younger parts of us that didn't consistently receive attunement, it actually helps build tolerance for the things that we encounter. What we all needed in childhood involved a sense of safety, attunement from our caregivers, consistency, and repair when things went awry. Most of us didn't get that. And if you did, sometimes it probably wasn't consistent. Let's think of an example of this. I haven't thrown my mom under the bus in a while, so let's give that a whirl. My mom listens to all these episodes, so hopefully that will give her a little chuckle. She's a good sport when it comes to this, and I will say, is the example of a parent who actually can acknowledge the things that didn't go the way she thought they would. And for that, I am incredibly grateful. So back to my example. When I was growing up, my dad was a rager. He would never hit anyone or physically do anything, but he would yell, give you the silent treatment, and leave physically. My little nervous system was so messed up. What should have happened was that my mom should have held him accountable and then attuned to me when I was scared. Instead, what I learned was how to fawn and manage his nervous system. Clean up your shoes. Be quiet. Don't talk back. Don't ask about your day. Don't say I love you too many times. The relational gymnastics I had to do to feel safe was out of control. So even today, when I notice dysregulation in someone else's nervous system, I go to that same fawn place. I try to manage, ask gently if I did something wrong, do things to make that person feel better. What does my system need when it's noticing disruption or conflict or another person's nervous system? The same thing I needed when I was a little girl. Safety, attunement, consistency, and repair. These places of awareness are opportunities to reparent myself and let that little girl know that everything's going to be okay. What I notice is that I have learned to manage my fight or flight response pretty well. It's my fawn response that I'm working on the most in the last couple of years. It's my fawn response that shows up when I notice someone's distance. And it is very sensitive. When my nervous system is picking up on distance or someone else's dysregulation, what my nervous system tells me is they're going to leave. That was the exact thing that happened in my childhood. My dad's nervous system would get hijacked, and then he was out. So when I get even an inkling that someone that I've attached to in my adult life might leave, it takes my body no time at all to go into fix-it mode. When I notice this, the answer is reparenting. My nervous system has to learn how to tolerate another person's distance. It's not even distance that should feel alarming, but it does to me. So I take a deep breath. I try to connect with that younger part that's terrified this person is going to leave. I first will connect and let her know, you're safe, and attune to why she feels scared. That might sound like, honey, I'm right here, and I know why you're so scared. You're afraid this person is going to leave, and then you're going to have to go back to being alone. Well, that's not going to happen because I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. You'll never be alone because I'm not going to leave you. Now, I know many of you listening may be thinking, there is absolutely no chance that that works. Well, I am a walking example that it does. But we need to be consistent. Every time I reparent that scared little girl, I'm widening my window of tolerance when someone feels distant to me. It doesn't mean I'm never going to react. It just means that when I do, I'm now connecting with myself and I'm expanding my capacity to handle it. Reparenting isn't about fixing yourself. It's about responding differently to those younger parts that didn't get what they needed. So now, what does regulation feel like, right? It might feel like I'm activated, but I'm not totally hijacked. I'm noticing my emotions without being consumed by them. I'm being able to pause before I'm reacting. I'm also recovering faster after stressful things. Regulation, unfortunately, is not constant peace. It's not emotional neutrality, and it doesn't mean I'm never going to get triggered. Okay, so now that we've talked through some of these things, what I want you to do, if you're at a place where you can stop for a minute, if you're driving in your car, don't do this. But if you're at home or you're at a place where you can actually notice yourself, what I want you to do right now is just take a minute and breathe and notice your body. Notice what's coming up. Notice if your heart is beating fast or slow. Notice if you have tightness in your jaw or your throat. You might have tightness in your abdomen or your hips. And what I would invite you to be curious about is these are all signs that I might be dysregulated. These are our physical ways that our bodies tell us things aren't right. You might notice your thoughts. They might be racing. You might be feeling a little sad or feeling hopeless. Once again, these are all opportunities for places where we can connect with those younger parts of us and actually join with them so that they're not alone anymore in dealing with whatever they're dealing with. Remember, regulation grows through repetition and consistency, not just noticing. Okay? So when we think about regulation, I want you to remember that regulation is a skill, right? It's not a place we're aiming for. Your biology isn't working against you. It's actually trying to protect you. Okay? So it's not bad that we have these responses. Healing happens, but it's pretty slow when we're in relationships. Okay? And when we're reparenting, we've got to be really patient with ourselves and our younger parts and making sure that we are working hard on repairing with them. As we're wrapping up today, I want to leave you with a couple things. The first is a question. What would it look like to work with your nervous system instead of against it? Right? It sounds really counterintuitive. What if we went with it instead of trying to fight it? Okay? That's reparenting. We're meeting ourselves where we are. I'm also going to leave you with a gentle invitation. First is our practices of mindfulness and checking in with ourselves really matter. So if you noticed having trouble tuning into your body, that might be something that you want to practice in your daily life. It just takes a couple minutes to just check in and notice what is going on for you. You might also identify a couple of relationships that feel like really safe relationships to practice some of this stuff in, okay? And making sure that it really is a safe relationship. And then finally, therapy is always a great option. Counseling can help us identify things that we can't see ourselves. I even know for me, I know that I have a therapist and I go because there are things even me as a counselor can't see within myself. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being invested in being a healthy human. It really matters to me. I appreciate it. And I look forward to being with you next time on the Encountering You podcast.